But there was that contact. She goes, I saw the wall coming. I took my hands off the wheel. She goes, I just closed my eyes, and I hit the wall. And I looked at Sandy, and Sandy looked at me, and I thought to myself, she didn't just say that, did she? Because
yeah.
I'm telling you right now, from what I saw, she did not take her hands off that wheel. Did you look at that steering wheel?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. She took her hands off the wheel.
No way. That thing was tacoed.
Yeah.
No, her.
It's. I don't even want to talk about it because it still gives me goosebumps.
Well, all I know is it makes me want to get a containment seat. So
no kidding. No, I don't care what you do as a safety deal. Spend the money. Get a containment seat. Spend the money. It is money well spent.
Get a properly fitted seat.
Right. Yep.
Oh.
So that was our top 10 in Hornets. We're gonna move to street stocks.
If I can find it. Street stocks.
Give me the top 10.
Jesse Yankee in the 13Y.
One feature win on the season.
With 354 points. Mackenzie Lockhart in the 22 machine. 366 points, brought home ninth.
Checkers or records deal for her this year. She was either fast and running in the top 3 or 4, or something was breaking, or she was getting taken out.
Yeah.
Or she had such an up and down season. I feel bad for that kid.
Yeah.
She got the new motor towards the end of the year. That girl can drive.
Oh, absolutely. There's
she can
no
drive.
doubt.
She has a very well calibrated right foot.
She does. Well, and her hands on that wheel, she is smooth. I think that is one thing that really keeps her.
And that's one thing too, coming from the cage karts, is you're moving so fast, and things are going so quickly in those karts. With a little tiny steering wheel, you get on a big 1/3 mile with 8 cylinders in front of you,
3,000-pound car,
3,300-pound car,
versus a 400-pound cage kart with a
completely,
short wheelbase. Right.
Completely different power to weight ratio. But you start sitting there, and when they're pitching it in, you can slow down and go, okay.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yay.
You're right, because talking with Bryson, I interviewed Bryson one year, his rookie year in the Super Sports, and he had like 10 wins. And I said, Bryson, everybody knows you're one of the top drivers in the country in the cage kart division. Let's talk about what you learn in the cage kart and what you bring out of that to these big cars. And Bryson at the time was, I think, like 12 or 13 years old.
Jeez.
And he looks at me and he says, absolutely nothing. He goes, you bring nothing from the cage car to these big cars. He goes, it's two different worlds. And he says, these cars are so much easier to drive. He goes, it's slow motion.
Yeah, so basically it's the only thing you learned is to turn left and keep going in a circle.
He said the cage karts, and Mackenzie will tell you, she said the exact same thing a couple years later when talking to her. She says everything is so much slower in these big cars. And I think that's why these kids coming out of these cage karts or the karting ranks getting up into the big cars are so good, because they're not having to jump in. See, they didn't have this stuff 15, 20 years ago when the generation ahead of these guys had to learn. They had to get in the cars and do it. So to them, it was high speed. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does.
Okay, now you got these kids coming out of these 120 horsepower go-karts
that are all twitchy.
And it's short wheelbase, and they're flying around, and everything's like, they said it's like a fighter jet. Then you get in this big old 3,000-pound stock car, this big long wheelbase, and they go out there and they said, it's just slow motion.
It's like a Cadillac.
Yeah, it's every one of them.
It's like driving Grandma's Buick down to the grocery store for a gallon of milk.
Right.
So simple and easy. 8th position, the 129 of Brian Kronk. There's a car that we have not seen. We have not seen a street stock behave that way before at Willamette Speedway.
I'm not too sure that's a street stock. I think that's a full-on late model with a street stock body.
It's a street stock.
I know. I'm just being sarcastic, but the way that car works on the racetrack, that's like watching. It's like watching an A-main late model go in. It gets up on the left rear, and the right front drops, and the four bars are working. And that thing is wicked.
But you think about it. We had 2 street stocks this year, Brian Kronk's being one of them, that are the 4-bar GM Monte Carlos, driven by 2 very talented individuals behind the wheel. And one thing about Brian Kronk, what's he known for? His setup on his cars.
He understands that. He's one of the elite drivers when it comes to understanding setup.
And I'll tell you what, when you start applying late model setup characteristics to a lower division car like a street stock, like a modified, you start messing with spring rates and shock packages and things of that nature. Look at what he did. That car was packing the left front on exit. You don't see that out of street stocks that often, and at all. It was beautiful to watch.
It was when he first brought that thing out, and then we're looking at that car going, man, Brian.
Exactly. It's like
it's a little rough.
Did that thing really come out of the Kronk shop? Because they are known for some very
their
beautiful
stuff looks
machines.
brand new all the time.
And here's 129 scribbled on the side of a primer black car in green and yellow spray paint. It's like, the hell?
That right there is the old theory. If looks made you go fast, you know what I'm talking about? That car.
Total sleeper.
Yes. And it was so fun to watch that car this year because, like you said, if you've never been to the racetrack and you see that car in a lineup, again, let's talk about this. As you're looking at street stocks and you're looking at cars like Mackenzie Lockhart's nice little Camaro, and you're looking at Ron Brewster's car, Dakotas, and I mean you've got all these Gentry's car. Yes, you're looking at those cars, and then you see Brian Kronk's car, beat up, spray paint for a number.
You're sitting there going, "What single wide pull did they pull that thing out of the driveway?"
Right, and as a race fan that's never been there, let's say it's your first time. There is no way you're going to look at that field and say, "I'm taking that car to win."
And no kid's going to go, "Daddy, look at that car."
That's my favorite car. And he got out there and just, man, is that thing fast. Oh. And the funny thing about it is...
it's a 602.
Well, but it's a 4-bar. It's working. Horsepower is a whole different deal at Willamette Speedway. It is not a horsepower racetrack. Never has been. I don't think it ever will be. You better have your car set up. And that is why that dang car works so good.
Uh-huh.
It is dialed.
7th position, my favorite car at the racetrack in the street stock division, the 99 of Justin Evans.
You're a Ford guy, and you know what? We got to watch her on her last run. She was not happy.
She was not a happy girl.
She did not finish the night and said, listen, if you're going to put me away, I'm going out on my terms. You don't want to run me anymore? We're done. First lap of the main, there's a little bit of contact. He had to park it in the pits, and that's how the old Coug goes out.
Well, we know next year it's going to go to a nice new owner.
That's what we're hearing, yep.
The lucky driver's going to be driving a Ford. Man.
Well, you could put a Chevy in it.
Yep. Why would you do that?
To go fast.
So it starts.
Buzz Mitchell, if you're listening, 503-862-3478. Your little farming widescreen needs backup.
Ford guy got to call for backup. Go figure.
Jeez. 6th position, the 14J of Steve Jorgensen. There's a guy who came out this season and put it all on the track.
I have got to say, in that class, I would put him in the category of most improved. In that, there's a couple drivers in there, and Steve this year, I don't know what it was, and he's been pretty good the last couple years, but something clicked. Something happened. I don't know what it was, but he got a fire under him this year. And that 14J car, how many times did we see it in the dash? How many times did we see it racing up front in the heat races in the main events? Big Steve showed up.
Well, you get seat time. You learn a little bit more about your car. It's going to start happening.
Yeah.
See, and I'll agree with you to a point on that one. But the next driver on the list that took home 5th position, the K2 of Kendall Irvine. There's a car that came out at the beginning of the season. You saw it was a rookie driver. She came out 3rd street stock race of the year for her first time behind the wheel of any type of...
I'd never driven a race car
Never driven a race car.
Oh, wow.
And, she was there turning laps. And over the year, she got consistently faster and faster.
We're going to have to go back and look at her first qualifying time to her last qualifying time and see how much time she picked up. I'll guarantee you it's seconds. But
I don't doubt it one bit. But, it's in her bloodline. I mean, her dad, JJ, raced out there for years.
He doesn't even have any blood in his system. He actually pumps, it's methanol pumping through his veins.
That's got to burn.
It is, but, JJ, he's hardcore to the floor.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's JJ. But it is what it is.
So let's what are you looking up here?
Don't worry about it. 4th position, Sean French.
There you go.
Now, there's another guy you've got to consider in the most improved from last year to this year.
Well, he didn't actually race that much last year. He took Dakota's old car.
Right.
So,
but what we saw last year to what he did this year, again, huge strides. From the beginning of the season to the end, huge strides.
Yeah. Huge strides.
Well, Phil Laverne, he spent a lot of time with him, tried to teach him where lines are, how to work the car. Phil drove the car once just to see what the car was like.
Right, I remember that.
Did a lot of changes. And, yeah, Sean, he just put his mind to it and made it happen.
Mm-hmm. And you saw it race after race. Sean started moving forward, finishing better.
Yeah.
Qualifying better. I mean, getting out of Dakota getting out of that car and getting into a 4-bar car with Sean being behind the Leaf Spring piloting the Leaf Spring Monte Carlo. Wow, I am
Camaro.
done. Camaro. I am so far off base right now. That's a yeah. You know what I'm saying without saying. I just lost my.
He's really upset about the Ford thing.
Yes,
I understand. I understand.
I am
feel
very,
for him.
very upset about it.
So I see what you're doing here. Week number 1, Kendall Irvine, her first qualifying lap, her fast lap on night number 1. Listen to this, 26.522. Okay, that was her fast lap on night number 1. Her fast lap, the last race of the year, 18.970. She wasn't that far off from the fast cars in the dash in her last week.
That's amazing.
That's a big, but you go from never having raced, the whole learning process and putting it all together in the seat time. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, that really is
a lot. When you look at it, she was 8 seconds off the leader at the beginning of the year, her first time out. Last race of the year, 1.770.
That's a big deal.
It's huge.
Who was third in points?
I need more widescreens.
Well, you had Sean, and who else do we have?
Dakota
got it. Yep.
Dakota finished third in points for the season. Came close a couple times picking up a victory this year, but
again, that was a deal. That kid's luck this year. Anytime it looked like he had it all put together and he was going to be right there, something happened. The whole middle of the wheel coming out while running.
He cracked a crankshaft.
Blew 2 motors.
Yeah, actually, he's got the Chevelle motor in it now. Max good Chevelle motor in it right as we speak. He went through quite a few motors.
But it was, again, his whole season was either he was up front running in the top 2 or 3, or he was broke.
But he was determined.
Yes, he was. That kid never gave up.
Here's another fun fact about our street stock division. 17 races this year. 8 different winners.
8 different winners.
Wow.
Talk about a competitive class. I mean, you've got guys all the way down to 15th to 1st winning races.
Just diverse.
Product of good, hard racing right there. And, of course, second place went to the 88 machine of Kevin Roberts, who is always badass fast.
So, right. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened for like the 2 or 3 weeks prior to the last race. Kevin, it didn't seem like it was his game wasn't on its A game. The last race of the year, he showed up, and Kevin Roberts was Kevin Roberts. I mean, he was like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna go out, we're gonna put the hammer down, we're gonna let it ride." Mm-hmm. And it was Kevin Roberts was back, and the 88 was it not BA fast?
That car just screams around the track.
I don't know if he changed something. That's something. I mean, I'll talk to drivers. Dom, you see how we do it out there in the pit area. Hey, what's going on? Oh, we made a couple changes. Mm-hmm. If they do tell us, we do not mention that. I'm not going to give away anybody's speed secrets. But you can tell, for the most part, when someone's made a change.
The car looked fast. It always looks fast.
Always.
Sometimes there's cars they can turn a good time, but they don't look fast.
But that last race of the year, last Saturday night, there was something about that 88 car. I don't know if they went back to something they were doing prior to or what, but did you guys notice the difference?
Oh, I did, without a doubt. There was no doubt. You could see something change. I don't know what they did.
Something changed right at the beginning of September. That weekend of the Iron Giant, something changed between the last race in August and the Iron Giant weekend. Don't know if he tried something new. Don't know if... and with these street stocks, it could be something as simple. We know how temperamental shocks are. It could be something as a blown seal, a shaft seal on a shock. Might not have found it.
On those cars, that makes a big difference. Though I mean, shocks on all cars, but on those big, heavy street stocks, when they got one bad, you can visibly see the car not working.
It's instrumental to making it work. I mean, important.
But what's interesting is we talk about that, but he also had